Hello everyone. So today let's discuss another topic of the morphology of flowering plants, that is the androecium. Androecium, which is the male reproductive structure of a flower. Okay. Now the basic unit of androecium is called the stamen, and each stamen it consists of three parts: the filament, anther, and the connective. Okay, the filament means the structure or the stalk which holds the anther upright. Anther, these are normally bilobed. Okay, and in between the lobes a sterile tissue is present which is known as the connective. Now, due to the presence of two lobes, the anther is normally known as bithecous anther. But sometimes what happens, a single lobe may also be present. Then we call it as a monothecous anther. Okay, and each anther lobe it has two pollen sacs. Okay, that means if we consider these, then definitely they have two pollen sacs. So these pollen sacs, that means single bithecous anther will have four pollen sacs. So therefore they are known as tetrasporangiate. Similarly, here one lobe, two sporangiums, isn't it? That means two pollen sacs. So definitely it is bisporangiate. Okay. Now, if the anther lobes are separated at one end, as you can see in this diagram, if here the anther lobe is joined at the top portion but at the basal portion it is separated, then this type of anther is known as the divaricate anther. Again, sometimes what happens, the connective elongates, and if it elongates then definitely the two lobes remain separated far apart. So this type of anther is known as the distractile. Okay, so based on the type of anther lobes or position, it can be of different types. Okay, now if the stamens are fully sterile, then we call it as a staminode. Okay, if the stamens remain inserted within the perianth, then we call it as a inserted anther. If it protrudes out of the perianth, then exserted. If the stamens are lying opposite to the sepals, then it is known as antisepalous. If it is opposite to the petals, antipetallous. Okay. Sometimes the stamens are arranged in two holes, then we call it as the diplostaminous. If it is arranged in more than two holes, then it is known as polystaminous. If the stamens are free, then we call it as polyandrous. Okay. If the stamens are all similar, then we call it as isostaminous. If stamens are different, then it is heterostaminous. So there are many terms related to the type of stamens. Okay. Another two important terms is the didynamous and tetradynamous condition. Sometimes what happens in flowers, we find two different types of stamens. That means two short and two long stamens. So this condition is known as didynamous condition. It is observed in case of Ocimum sanctum. And tetradynamous means two short and four long anthers. The two short anthers lie outside and the four long anthers are inner. Okay, so this is observed in case of Brassica. So this is a tetradynamous condition. Again, based on the cohesion of stamens, it can be again of different types. Now as you can see, if the stamens are fused in the region of their filament, so definitely we know this is the filament portion, so their filaments are fused. So this is known as adelphous condition. If it is forming a single group, okay, as you can see here, this is a single group of anthers, isn't it? That means the filaments are forming or fusing to form a single group. This is known as monadelphous. If it is forming two groups, then it is known as diadelphous. And if it is forming more than two groups, then it is known as polyadelphous condition. Okay. Sometimes what happens, instead of the filament, the anthers remain fused, but the filaments are free. Then we call it as syngenaceous condition. Again, if the anther and the filament all remain fused together, then we call it as synandrous condition. Okay. Again, adhesion of anther is there. If it is attached to the petals, then it is known as epipetalous. If it is attached to the tepals, then it is known as epitepalous. And if the stamens are attached to the gynoecium, then it is known as gynandrous. Okay. So when we are discussing about these things, so definitely we find different terms and names. Okay. And all you have to do is remember the terms with diagram. Okay, diagrammatically studying is much more easier, and you have to also remember the examples. Now, again on the fixation of anther with the filament. If the filament is present or attached to the anther at the basal portion, then it is known as basifixed. If the filament, it runs up to the entire length of the anther, then it is known as adnate. If it is fixed at the dorsal side, then it is known as dorsifixed. And if it is present in the back and the anthers are separated, then it is known as versatile. Okay, so these are different types of anthers based on the position of fixation of the filament to the anther. Now, their dehiscence may be also different, and based on the dehiscence, again we can subdivide them. If the dehiscence we know, that means how the spores will be liberated, pollens will be liberated, isn't it? So, if the slit occurs longitudinally, lengthwise, then we call it as longitudinal dehiscence. Okay. Sometimes what happen, the slit occurs transversely, then we call it as transverse dehiscence. If it is occurring forming some pores at the apical portion, then it is porous. And if the wall of the anther breaks and lifts at places, so you can see this is breaking and lifting up, isn't it? This type is known as valvular. And if the break is taking place irregularly, then it is known as irregular type. Okay, so these are the different types based on the position, how the slit is occurring for dehiscence of the pollen grains. Okay, so this is the androecium part. Next we come to the gynoecium, that is the female reproductive structure of a flower. Its individual unit is known as carpel or pistil. Now the gynoecium, it consists of three parts. The stigma, which is the main receptive organ of the pollen grains. Okay, that means whenever the pollination takes place, the pollens will come and stay attached here. The style, which is the pathway between the stigma and the ovary, and the ovary, which consists of the ovule. Okay, that means here the female gametes form. So these are the three main parts of the pistil or carpel. Okay, now the stigma, it may be of different types. Sometimes what happen, the stigma may be two forked, then we call it as a biforked stigma. Okay, sometimes it may be three forked, trifid. Okay, again it may be linear type also. Okay, a thin structure is there. Then sometimes it may be plumose, that means feather like structure. It may be lobed, capitate if it is forming a cap like structure. Then it may be striated if striations are present. It may be funnel shaped. Okay, so different types may be present of the stigma. Then style, it is the simple structure, okay, which will help the stigma, or which will connect the stigma with the ovary where ovule is formed. Okay, now the style may be sometimes called as terminal if it develops from the tip of the ovary. Okay, or it may be lateral if it grows from one side of the ovary. Or else we can call it as gynobasic if it grows from the mid-basal depressed part of the ovary. Okay, or from the thalamus directly. Or it is known as stylopodium. That means a disc-shaped conical swelling present at the base of the divaricating style, as it is observed in case of coriander. Okay, so these are the different parts. Then when we talk about ovary means which will ripen to form the fruit. So wall of the ovary, it is the pericarp of the fruit. Okay, that means the wall. Inside it consists of the ovules, which are the which will mature to form the seed of the fruit. Okay, now the ovary, it may be two chambered. If it is two chambered, it is known as bilocular. If it is three, trilocular. If it is more than that, then tetra, penta, like that. And based on the number of carpels also, we can divide them into different groups. Like if one carpel, monocarpellary, if two, bicarpellary, tetracarpellary, pentacarpellary, polycarpellary, etc. Again, the carpels may be fused also, free also. If they are free without fusing with one another, then we call this condition as apocarpous condition. And if they remain fused together, then we call it as syncarpous. Okay. Then when we are discussing about ovary, that means we have to study about the placentation. That means how the ovules are arranged in the ovary. So based on the position, different type of placentations are observed. So first one is the marginal placentation. Here the ovules are developed in two rows. Okay. That means here they form a longitudinal suture or junction where the margins of the ovary wall are fused. And this is also known as ventral suture. So as you can see in the margin portion, the ovules are developing in a particular row. This is observed in case of P. Okay, all of you are familiar with that one. Whenever we open the pot, those seeds are arranged in this particular manner. Then second type is the parietal type. So parietal type means when the ovary is unilocular but pistil is syncarpous. That means the pistil will be fused. Okay. And ovules are born over the wall in two or more longitudinal series. So as you can see in this diagram, the ovules are developing from the wall of the ovary, isn't it? So this is the ovary. So from the wall it is developing. This is parietal placentation. Here also you can see from the walls. This also, these are different types observed in different plants, and all these are indicating that the ovules are developing from the wall of the ovary. Then the third type is the axile placentation. Here the ovary is bilocular or multilocular. Septa are present and the ovules are occurring in the central region, okay, where the septa meet. Now this is a septum, this is septum, this is a septum. They are commonly meeting at a particular point at the center. So from this portion, ovules are developing. Here also, okay, this one. So this is the axile placentation. Then next one is the free central type. Free central placentation means ovules are born around a central column, okay, which is not connected with the wall of the ovary. So as you can see, this is a central column and from this the ovules are developing and there is no connection with the pericarp, that is wall of the ovary. The next one is the basal type. In basal type, only a single ovule is born at the base of the ovary and normally the ovary is unilocular. Then we get the apical type. That means though here also single ovule is formed but the ovule is arising from the apex of the ovary. Okay, and last one is the superficial type. That means here ovary is uni or multilocular and the ovules are born all over the inner wall. So as you can see, lots of ovules are formed, isn't it? This is observed in case of Citrus nymphea. So this is the superficial type. So these are the different types, okay? Marginal, parietal, axile, free central, basal, apical and superficial, based on the position of how the ovules are arranged within the ovary. So hope these two videos are clear to you. Okay, go through it properly and if you have any problem then let me know.